In this video, we will explore important tips as how to use the vocabulary when it comes to self-pip exam. Most people think vocabulary means using big, difficult, advanced words. Words that sound impressive, words that make you feel like you're speaking high-level English. But let me tell you something very honestly. That mindset is exactly what lowers your score. Because in the self-pip exam, the goal is not to sound intelligent. The goal is to sound clear, natural, and effective. You don't get marks for complicated English. Okay, you get marks only for the right English. So in today's video, I'm not going to give you a boring list of words to memorize. Instead, I'm going to show you how vocabulary actually works inside the exam, how high scorers use it, and how you can instantly upgrade your answers without sounding unnatural. So before we even talk about vocabulary, you need to understand one very important thing. What exactly the self-pip exam is looking for? Because in both speaking and writing, vocabulary is not judged based on how big your words are, how fancy your words are. It is judged based on three things. First, your range. Are you using different words or are you repeating the same words again and again? The second one, your accuracy. Whether you're choosing the correct words for the situation or you're just guessing something that sounds fancy. And third, your natural usage. So, does your English sound like something a real person would say, or does it sound memorized and forced? Let me make this very clear. CELPIP is designed around real life English. So, if your answer sounds like a memorized essay or a dictionary, your score will drop. Yes. So, you have to be very careful for that. Now, if your sounds like a real conversation, then it's simple, clear, and precise. Automatically, your score goes up. So, that is the game. Got it? Now let's talk about where most students go wrong because this is where you can immediately improve. The first mistake is using fancy words incorrectly. Yes. For example, instead of saying, I was very tired, a student might say, I was extremely exhausted to the extent of mental collapse. Now that sounds very dramatic, right? But it also sounds unnatural and confusing. The second mistake is repetition. Students keep saying words like very good, very bad, very important again and again. So this shows limited vocabulary. The third mistake is memorization. Students learn templates like in today's modern era and use them everywhere, even when it doesn't fit. And the fourth mistake is direct translation from their native language. So this creates sentences that are grammatically okay but sound completely unnatural in English. If you want to improve your vocabulary score, the first step is not learning new words. The first step is stopping these mistakes. Got it? Kindly make a note of it because this is going to be really helpful when you attend the exam. Then I'm going to give you a strategy that you can actually use in the exam. Something practical, something powerful. I call this the 3L vocabulary system. The first L is level. Every basic word has levels, right? For example, instead of always saying bad, you can upgrade it step by step. You can say not good, then ineffective, and in some situations, even harmful. Depends on the context, right? But here's the key, you don't always need the highest level. You need the right level for the situation. So that's the basic level. You need to understand what is the right level of usage of words when it comes to the context. And the second L is logic. So this is where most students fail. Words are not just about meaning, they are about context. For example, cheap, affordable, and low quality may look similar, but they are completely different in meaning. If you say cheap product, it may sound negative. If you say affordable product, it sounds positive. So vocabulary is not just choosing a word, it is choosing the correct word for the situation. And the third L is link. This is about collocation. So when we are saying the linkers, obviously the collocations will come, right? So words that naturally go or pair together. We say make a decision. We don't say it as do a decision, right? We say strong argument, not powerful argument in most cases. So instead of memorizing random words, you need to learn how words connect with each other. So if you follow these three, like level, logic, and link, so the 3L strategy, then your vocabulary will automatically improve. Now let's bring this to the actual self speaking task. In task one, where you give advice, your vocabulary should sound supportive and practical. So instead of saying you should do this, you can say, like, you might want to consider this, or one practical solution could be, can you find the difference? It sounds more natural and polite, right? And in task two, where you talk about a personal experience, your vocabulary should reflect emotions. So instead of saying, I was very happy, you can say, I felt really relieved, or I was genuinely excited. So these words make your answer more expressive and real. And in task three, where you describe a scene, you need descriptive vocabulary. Okay, so instead of saying many people, you can say a crowded area, or for nice place, you can say a peaceful environment. So the idea is not to use difficult words, it is to use better, more precise words. Now let's move to writing because vocabulary plays a huge role here. In task one, which is the email writing, tone is everything. You cannot use casual vocabulary. Instead of saying, I want this, you can say, like, I would like to request this. Or if you're saying for sorry, you can say, like, I sincerely apologize. So these type of small changes make your writing sound professional. And in task two, which is giving your opinion, this part, your vocabulary should be clear and structured. So instead of saying this is very important, you can say this is extremely significant, or you can say, like, this plays a crucial role. And don't try to repeat the same words again and again. Try to vary them naturally. For example, if you're saying people again and again, that sounds very unnatural, right? And it's a kind of repetitive. So your score will go down. Instead, you can say individuals, citizens, or the public, depending on the context. So this shows control over vocabulary. Now, let me give you some practical techniques that high scorers use. The first is paraphrasing. So don't repeat the same word. You have to change it slightly. For important, you can use the word like essential, crucial, or significant. And the second synonym is layering. So you don't just replace words randomly. You have to choose based on the tone and context. And the third one is avoiding the repetition. This is very, very important. That's why I'm just reinforcing this topic again and again. Yes, you have to always ask yourself, am I repeating the same word too many times? And finally, your tone awareness. So formal tasks need formal vocabulary. Speaking tasks need natural conversational vocabulary. So if you balance these, your answers automatically will sound high level. So let's quickly summarize. You should use vocabulary that sounds natural, clear, appropriate for the situation. You should vary your words and use proper collocations, but try to avoid overcomplicating your language. That means don't try to use so much of fancy vocabularies which you are not aware of, okay? And don't try to memorize random words. And most importantly, avoid using words that you don't fully understand because one wrong word can reduce your clarity. And clarity is everything in CELPIP. Okay? So, if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Vocabulary is not about sounding smart. It's about communicating effectively. You don't need hundreds of difficult words. You just need the right words used in the right way at the right time. And once you understand that, your score will naturally improve. That's all for today's video. Kindly like, share, and subscribe for more self-help tips. See you in the next video. Bye bye.